Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Arizona Cardinals at the Chicago Bears in their Week 2 matchup, September 20th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats. We're going to give our breakdown and analysis, and there are plenty of scores in this game. The Cardinals scored in each and every quarter. They put up 14 in the first, second, third, and then another 6 in the fourth. But let's get started with the opening kickoff. David Johnson, the rookie from Northern Iowa, runs it back 108 yards all the way end zone to end zone, as you can't really run it much further than 108 yards. It's only 100. I mean, the furthest you can do is like 109 and a half. I mean, 110, you'd be on the line. You'd almost be out of bounds, wouldn't you? But yeah, so that long kickoff right there, and the extra point by Catanzaro, and it was 7-0 Cardinals over the Bears. The Bears would respond about 11 minutes later with about 3.5 left in the first. Jay Cutler hit Josh Bellamy for a 48-yard touchdown, and with the extra point by Gould, it was tied up at 7 apiece. But then with just over a minute left, still in the first, Carson Palmer hit Jaron Brown on a 6-yard little slant right there on the goal line, and it was a touchdown, a 6-yard touchdown pass. And with the extra point by Catanzaro, it was 14-7 as the Cardinals were back up by a touchdown. So in the second quarter, the Bears responded. Jeremy Langford punched it in from a yard out, and with the extra point by Gould, it was tied up once again, this time at 14 apiece. But then with less than 4 minutes left to play in the first half, we saw a bunch of scoring. First off, Carson Palmer hits Larry Fitzgerald for an 8-yard touchdown pass, and with the extra point by Catanzaro, it was 21-14 Arizona over Chicago. Then, less than a minute later, we got a pick six as Jay Cutler was intercepted by Tony Jefferson. He ran it back 26 yards to pay dirt. And along the way, Cutler tried to tackle him, and he was injured. And Catanzaro would kick the extra point to make it 28-14, as now it was a 2-touchdown deficit for the Bears, and they had lost their quarterback. So Jimmy Clausen would come in to play under center for Chicago, and he actually would lead them to 2 scoring drives in less than a minute in the final minute of the first half. First, a 40-yard field goal by Robbie Gould with 59 seconds left, and then with 1 second left, a 23-yard field goal by Gould, and it was now 28-20 as the Bears had cut the Cardinals' lead to 8 heading into the locker rooms at halftime. But then in the third quarter, just a little over 2 minutes in, Larry Fitzgerald caught his second touchdown pass of the game. This one a 28-yard pass from Carson Palmer, and the extra point by Catanzaro would make it 35-20 as the Cardinals went up by 15. Then with 6 minutes left in the third still, David Johnson scored for the second time this game. The first one was that opening kickoff. This one a 13-yard touchdown run as the rookie from Northern Iowa got back into the end zone. And with the kick from Catanzaro, it was 42-20 as they extended their lead to 22 points. Cards over the Bears. Then with 2.5 minutes still left in the third, Robbie Gould hit a 51-yard field goal, and that made it 42-23 as the Bears were able to chip into the lead and cut it to 19. So now in the fourth quarter, with less than 3 minutes left to play, Carson Palmer hits Larry Fitzgerald for the third time in this game. A 9-yard touchdown pass this time around. Catanzaro did not hit the extra point, and so it was 48-23 as the Cardinals were now up by 25. That would be the final score as they held on to win in pretty dominant fashion. It was, early on somewhat of a shootout, but once Jay Cutler decided to quit, so did the Bears, pretty much. I mean, they did get those couple of field goals right there before halftime, but I felt that Jay Cutler quit on his team. It's not the first time we've seen Cutler make a mistake and then be like, oh, I'm injured. I got to leave the game now. See you guys later. I saw a game a long time ago when Don McNabb broke his ankle, and he played the whole entire second half on a broken ankle. He had the best game of his career. and that was against the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, that was a different Arizona Cardinals team, but still, I thought it was pretty weak that Cutler left like that. Of course, I mean, hey, that's not really fair, because, I mean, I'm sure he was injured, right? He was actually 8 for 8 until he threw that pick six. He finished 8 for 9 with 120 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Clausen, 14 for 23, 121 passing yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Carson Palmer had less than 200 yards passing, but he was 17 for 24, 185 passing yards to be exact, and 4 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. Chris Johnson, that's right, Chris Johnson, the former Titan and Jet, now playing with the Cards, had 20 carries for 72 yards. As the Cards show that they've somehow found the fountain of youth in Arizona between Carson Palmer, Chris Johnson, and Larry Fitzgerald, who had 8 receptions for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns. And of course, they do have youth as well as the rookie there, David Johnson, with that 108-yard kick return. He also had 5 carries for 42 yards and a rushing touchdown. And he also had 1 reception for 3 yards. John Brown had 5 receptions for 45 yards. And Jaron Brown had 2 receptions for 20 yards, including a touchdown, as he caught the 4th touchdown. Well, not in that sequence, but, Fitzgerald had 3, and he had the other one from Palmer. And over on the other side, Matt Forte had 15 carries for 61 yards. Forte also had 4 receptions for 44 yards, as he had 105 total yards for Matt Forte. Bellamy, the 1 reception, that 48-yard touchdown. Jay Cutler had 24 rushing yards for 3 carries before leaving the game due to that hamstring when he was trying to tackle Jefferson, who ran back the interception for that pick 6. Langford had 6 carries for 21 yards for the Bears as well. And Robbie Gould, he was pretty busy. He had 3 field goals. He even hit a 51-yarder. He was 3 for 3. And then he also had 2 extra points, 2 for 2. And on the other side, Canton Zaro, he never had to attempt a field goal because they just kept getting in the end zone. He was 6 for 7 on the extra points. Like I said, that kickoff, though, that really set the tone in the game right off the rip. I mean, the Bears hung in there for a little while, but eventually, especially once Cutler left, they really didn't stand a chance at that point. They didn't really have much of a chance, as it were. But in the game, Jared Allen made a crazy play when he did pick off Carson Palmer. That was that 1 pickoff for Palmer in the game where Jared Allen. How could I not say the name Jared? How did I screw that up? No, but Jared Allen made a crazy play. He was coming in on Carson Palmer, rushing him. He jumped up in the air, swatted the ball out of the air, and then he caught the interception. It was insane. It was one hell of a spectacular athletic play by Jared Allen, speaking of the fountain of youth. And Jefferson, he had that pick 6. He also led the game in tackles with 9 tackles. And Patrick Peterson also had an interception as well. Murrow had a sack for the Cardinals. And Golden and Martin combined for a sack, so they each had a half a sack. And we look at the team stats. The Cardinals 21 first downs versus 18 first downs for the Bears. And on third downs, the Cardinals converted 5 of 9 for a 55 conversion percentage, whereas the Bears just 2 of 12 on third downs, converting just 16%. And the Cardinals actually 1 for 1 on fourth down, and the Bears 0 for 1. We look at total net yards, and the Bears actually had more total net yards, 335, the Cardinals 300. And rushing yards, the Cardinals actually outran the Bears 115 yards to 109 yards. That's net. And then net passing yards, 185 net passing yards for the Cardinals, is Carson Palmer was not sacked once. And for the Bears, 226 net passing yards, is they did allow 2 sacks in this game for losses of 15 total yards. We look inside the red zone, And in the red zone, the Cardinals, they own the red zone. That's even, in their stadium, they have the whole thing, the red zone. Well, the red zone apparently travels for Arizona as well, because they were 4 for 4 in the red zone, 100% efficiency. Whereas Chicago, just 1 for 2, only 2 trips to the red zone, and they only capitalized once. And time of possession was pretty even, though, in this game. 30 minutes and 4 seconds for the Cardinals, 29 minutes and 59 seconds for the Bears. You couldn't get too much more even than that. The only way it could be, it's just a couple of seconds. If it was 30 minutes and 1 second and 29 minutes and 59 seconds, But regardless, though, the Cardinals, they show that they can find different ways to score, as they scored on offense, defense, and they started off the scoring with special teams. So the Cardinals are dangerous, looking strong, especially in their division. They're 2-0 now, and teams that start the season 2-0 have a 63% chance of making the playoffs, whereas teams that start 0-2, as the Bears have now done, only have a 12% chance of making the playoffs. It's not impossible, but it sure is an uphill battle to climb for those 0-2 teams. And for those 2-0 teams, they got off on the right foot. Especially Arizona definitely looks to have an inside track towards finally dethroning the Seahawks in the West, as they've been on the verge. They've been right there, knocking on the door. And as long as they can keep things going and doing what they're doing, they should have a successful season moving forward. It's just week 2, so we'll see. Obviously, things aren't decided after 2 weeks. There's still 14 more games to play, 15 more weeks before we get to the playoffs. So we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves, but at this point right now, they are looking really solid on both sides of the ball. So, and they're even getting production out of that ground game as well. So, be interesting to see how things move going forward. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. What do you think about this game, and what do you think about the Cardinals' hot start, and what do you think about the Bears, who have gotten off to a start pretty much like we expected. And I expected the Cardinals to be hot too. So both teams are giving us what we expect in this game anyway. Not all games are that way. Not all teams are that way. But these two teams are pretty much who we thought they were heading into the season. It's nice to know that we're right once in a while. But let me know what you think in the comments section. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and have a great week. And enjoy all the sports.